Good evening. Well, over 1,000 in and 3 out. But an Egyptian rapist and convicted terrorist won't ever be one of those going back to France, will he? Well, after we saw celebratory cries from the Labour benches as they finally managed to deport less than a small car's worth of people, the harsh reality began to sink in across the country that this partial returns deal was dead on arrival. It's got to be one of the worst negotiated deals in British history. The French have full veto rights over any migrants they don't want to return to France, citing those with criminal records or violent histories as an example. What message do you think that sends? Oh, I know. As soon as you arrive in Britain, commit a heinous crime because then they can't deport you back to France. That almost sounds like incitement to violence, if you ask me. And what about those that France takes back? Well, one of the first deportees was an Indian national nonetheless. Yes, the man came from the country that the Prime Minister only just struck a trade deal with. Keir, why didn't you force them to take back their illegal migrants as part of the deal? Well, we know France are going to do, or don't we? We know what they'll do. They'll take that Indian national and they'll deport him straight back to India. The same thing we should have done, but we're too weak and crippled by laws that Starmer made all his money defending. So let's do the mathematics here, shall we? We received 1,000 migrants from France indirectly this week. Then we pay France £500 million to, well, let's face it, stop zero boats. Then we take in an illegal migrant from France illegally via the partial returns deal, who will now permanently reside in the UK. Then we pay an undisclosed sum to France for that same partial returns deal, probably tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of pounds for that too. And for the migrants that we deport to France, who, of course, can veto those dangerous criminals such as rapists and terrorists, well, they can simply deport that person back to their country of origin. So, to summarise, that's tens of thousands of migrants into the UK illegally, hundreds more legally, and we pay France, let's say, £750 million ballpark for the pleasure of it all. Meanwhile, France loses tens of thousands of illegals. Any it receives back from us that are the least violent, by the way, can also be deported out of France. Oh, and they get an estimated £750 million and their border force, all they have to do is pose for BBC photos every now and then. What an absolute farce. What a joke. We need this country to be run by serious people, not those who would rather make a mockery of our country, all for plaudits from their lefty lawyer mates and pound shop Napoleon, Emmanuel Macron. This deal has made a mockery of Britain. There is a net negative output here for our country. Now let's get the thoughts of my panel. I'm joined by journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, former Labour advisor Paul Richards, and former Met police detective Peter Blakeslee. Paul, look, I have to start with you. As I just listed the sort of mathematics, the negatives and the pros and cons there, it seems like a lot of cons for Britain, a lot of positives for France, and not much in the way for positivity for the taxpayer.
Well, the number you missed was that 35,000 illegals have been returned, so that
did not appear in your... have not been returned. That is not... They have not been... That is not true. Many of them have been voluntarily left the country after being... That's not the same as returning.
But you didn't even mention that.
Yeah, but Paul, let's be honest with our language back to the British people. Let's not take them for fools.
Agreed.
OK, Peter?
So, well, hang on. I didn't get my sentence out. All I was going to say was, I think that, yes, the French do need to step up and do a lot more to stop the boats leaving in the first place. Second of all, it's a pilot scheme, so it's going to ramp up if it works, so let's not mock the numbers now. You can't complain about us doing nothing, then we do something, and then you complain about it.
Yeah, what's the max it goes to? Tell the public how many max we can return.
Well, I don't know, but it's going to be more than 3 or 4.
50 a week.
And then the most important thing is, I think with the new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, she is somebody who's already knocking heads together and getting things done in a way that we haven't seen for a year, and I think she is standing up to those lawyers that you just mentioned.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living, and maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind. The more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver, and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
All right, I'm not so sure about that, Peter.
The language you use, Paul, is very important because you just used twice the word we. So I take it you now are speaking as an official government spokesperson.
Well, I'm aligned. I'm a supporter of the Labour Party, but I'm not a minister, am I? But I would, if a minister was here, this is probably what they would say.
So you are acting as an official mouthpiece.
Not official, but I'm happy to take that on.
Language is important. You use the word we. Let me just point that out. Right, I've got a new phrase for all these illegals coming in. Keir's cargo. Right, that's what it is. Remember where you heard it first. It is Keir's cargo. This is what's coming in week after week. All right, we had a 9-day respite because the wind blew. Well done, wind, our barrier against this invasion of people coming into the country who are breaking the law, each and every one of them. Section 3 of the Immigration Act 1971 makes it a criminal offence to come to the UK without leave to remain. So park all the language from the left is about irregular migrants. They're illegals. When they get here, stick them in a camp like that one being proposed down near Portsmouth, cover it, surround it with razor wire, snarling Alsatians, keep them there and send them back from whence they came.
Peter, I couldn't agree more with you. I think we need a much tougher line here, Linda. And it does really, they're talking about specifically about this deal because when you see the amount of people that came here just this week, over 1,000, 1,150 or something along the lines in total, it makes a mockery. Even if the government get up to 50, that's one boat.
Well, as I said earlier, it's a black comedy. But the whole point here, and this is a view that's amplified by every migration and border control expert I've listened to, is that this is being done because we need a big deterrent, something that makes this country unpalatable to the people who are flooding in. Now, the problem with this scheme is the numbers are tiny, and even if the pilot scheme is successful and it's expanded, it still can't be expanded enough. Now, even when politicians say to me, well, we should never have been Rwanda because Rwanda would have been a deterrent. No, it wouldn't. Even Rwanda would not have significant enough numbers to actually act as a deterrent. Most Border Force officials say that you have to be prepared to say that you will maybe get 50 to 80% of people returned. That's the kind of number that means it's a deterrent.
Welcome to this cell. There's the razor wire. There's my snarling Alsatian. That's a deterrent.
What else can we do, Peter? Because what I think is this. I think the only way to end this crisis, because I think many of them will go to those. I think they'll be happy to go to some of those camps, to be quite honest, to get out of France, considering they are living lawless over there.
But from there, they would be deported.
That's what I want to hear. That's why you would deport them all.
Of course.
How far
Absolutely.
back would you deport everyone that's come here for the foreseeable part, let's say, since 2018, 2017 when this started?
Great point. What happened to the 35,000 that came over the other year?
Exactly.
And the 35,000 a year before that, and the 30,000 a year before that? Where are they? What are they doing in this country? I want to know. I demand we should be told by this pathetic Home Office and this abysmal government. We want to know where they are. And before Paul pipes up, I agree, of course, many of them will have come under a different government. We still need to know. Yeah. Where are they? What are they doing? Are they on benefits? Are they working and contributing? What are they doing?
Yeah, Paul, I have no love for the last government stance on this. I think they did an absolutely horrendous job of getting control of this, and I do sympathise that Labour's got to do something, but it doesn't look like they're doing anything. I think this returns deal is a complete political theatre to look tough, but doing absolutely zilch.
Well, I disagree again, because it's new and it's going to be a pilot scheme, and if it works, maybe we can do similar deals with other countries and ramp it up and then create that deterrent that we all want. We all want the boats to stop. We all want the boats to stop, right?
Paul,
but if there was something...
The only way to do that is mass deport these people back to where they came from, their countries of origin.
But if it was as simple as that, why wouldn't any government have done it already?
Because they're spineless.
Yeah.
Keir's cargo again and again and again.
Would you send back refugees? What about legitimate refugees?
Let me get Linda in here. Hang on, let me get Linda in. Linda, do you think we need to leave the ECHR, and do you think we need to reform the Human Rights Act?
I actually think that we do. Now, I have completely changed my mind, because 2 years ago, I don't think I'd have come down on that side of the argument. But I think if we are continually disrupted by ludicrous decisions in our courts, we will have to do something about it. I think we are all agreed about that. I do think, though, Peter, we have to be careful about who we are sending back, because what we mustn't forget is that we have a birth rate now which isn't even a replacement birth rate. Even if we started encouraging women to have more children, it would take 20 years to push the population up, to raise enough revenue to put tax into the exchequer to start paying for stuff.
On that very note, let's point out, because they're forever claiming it in immigration tribunals and the such like, I came from a war-torn country. There was a civil war going on in my country. Well, do you know what? Why didn't you pick a side and choose death before dishonour and fight for your country? Are we getting boatloads of cowards coming here then? Only the ones who don't want to fight? Because what kind of benefit are they going to be to our country? If they won't fight for their own country, they're hardly likely to enlist in our army and fight for ours, are they?
The problem I've got, just to wrap this up, the problem I've got is the man I mentioned at the top of my monologue there. There is a man, an Egyptian man, who shouldn't be. There's no war going on in Egypt, by the way. He should have been deported God knows how long ago. He should have deported the minute he set foot on our soil, who's been able to rape somebody and is a convicted terrorist. Those are the people coming into Britain, everybody. And the fact that we can't stop them, and the government haven't got the backbone to stop them, he probably won't get sent home now because he's going to have a cushy time in prison, winds me up, and it will wind you all up at home as well. I know we want this all to end, but